great conversations continue now on The Maggie Linton Show.
Well, welcome back. If your child is lacking in self-esteem, then perhaps they need a dose of Araminta. Dr. Virginia Batchelor, professor of education at Medaille College, has written her first children's book, and it is something, folks. It is Stop Calling Me That. My name is Araminta. Welcome, Dr. Batchelor.
Good morning, Ms. Linton. Thank you for having me on today.
Oh, listen, I am thrilled to have you on. I love your book. Talk about how your grandmother inspired this one.
Well, actually, my mom told me about her grandmother.
Okay, then it's your great-grandmother then.
So it's my great-grandmother.
Yeah.
And I remember the stories about Grandma Abigail, and she said, I don't think my Grandma Abigail could read. She always read the paper upside down. And I thought that was so funny, and I felt as though it drew me so close to her that she spoke to me through this story with Araminta.
And Araminta is just precious. Fell so much in love with her, but even more so, the illustrations by James Cooper III are just gorgeous.
Thank you so much. He was so wonderful in tapping into my mind. I would tell him about my grandmother, and I told him that I wanted our community to feel connected to the book. That's why you see her reading papers that are community papers, and she's reading the Criterion upside down.
Mm-hmm.
She has our Buffalo Challenger on her kitchen table, and I told him I wanted her to be relaxed. I wanted people to feel that she was their grandmother, and he captured everything that was in my heart beautifully.
Yeah. This story is such a great story for kids in particular, like I said earlier, who are lacking in self-esteem and just putting their foot down in a sense saying, I'm not going to take this anymore.
Yes. Well, it was something when I was traveling today. I was thinking that many years ago I went to a school regarding a child who was being bullied. And I feel as though I didn't do a good job at that point. And I felt that I was being bullied just as much as he was. And so I thought maybe I could make it up to him and to myself if I were to write something that would be a message to children that they can stand up for themselves, they can be their advocate, but just know how to put it forth, share whatever it is that they're going through with a loved one so that they can get the help to make a difference in their lives.
You managed to bring in some beautiful Black history, too. So Minta is not just learning how to stand up for herself, but she's also learning about, in a sense, ancestors that make such a difference in her life.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you said that because, originally I was going to incorporate a different historical figure, and I traveled all the way to St. Catharines, and just to make sure that my research was correct. And with every turn, someone would say, Harriet Tubman, we have some wonderful Harriet Tubman literature over here. And I said, thank you. And on the third, we have a wonderful book that I think you should read about Harriet Tubman. I said, I yield. I said, Miss Tubman, help me tell my story. And the book that I found had one sentence in it, and it said she had been reduced to one sentence. She helped free the slaves. And she was so much more than that. And because we're thinking, it is speculated that she crossed the Niagara River here at Broderick Park in Buffalo, New York, that I thought, what a person to help someone build their self-esteem, and also what different facts could I introduce? And I began to think not many people knew that Harriet Tubman's birth name was Araminta. So that was my hook to begin to introduce different information about Miss Tubman.
Well, that was the I really did not know that her name was Araminta leading into it. So it's just absolutely beautifully written and also, in a sense, beautifully researched, too. Like you said, Harriet Tubman was refusing to take the back seat in your book, wasn't she?
Absolutely. And I tell you, there are so many layers to Miss Tubman. That I think that she could share a lot of information and to both boys and girls, men and women, if they just knew the many layers that Harriet Tubman was comprised of.
Yeah. As we look throughout this month, and of course, like you said, Harriet Tubman is well known for many different reasons. You got into a different sort of story about her that also needed to be told.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was also going to say that I had so many influences. A cousin of mine was taking the mathematics. That particular theme came from a cousin of mine. And, I really felt that God's hand was in it because I was able to pull together every thought that was on my mind that I wanted to touch on without feeling that I was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And so the spirits, they all just came together and sat down with me, and the book absolutely wrote itself. But I would not have had that well-rounded view of everything that is touched on in the book had it not been for the wonderful people who've touched my life.
Yeah. Once again, we are talking with Dr. Virginia Batchelor. She's a professor of education at Medaille College, and she is sharing her book. Stop calling me that. My name is Araminta, and this is your first children's book. And what drew you to wanting to write for children?
Well, I have always wanted to write a book for children since becoming a mommy. And now my daughter is my partner. So now that I'm a mother, I said, I'm going to have to visit my bucket list and do something that was always in me to do. And so I would say my daughter and children who are experiencing some difficulties and feel that they do not have an advocate. In fact, I was in a school, and it was this little boy, and he asked this teacher. He says, "I want to ask her, why did she write the book?" And I heard him, and I said, "I wrote it for you." So I wrote it, a book for children, for the child in me and the children who are in adults, and for children who are still experiencing their lives as children.
Yeah, and I also appreciate the fact that you did not what I call dumb it down. You used words that may force little kids to stretch their vocabulary a lot more, but still managed to tell the story without a struggle.
Mm-hmm. I was in the field with a student, one of my student teachers, and I happened to be in a pre-K class, and there was a little boy. He was lying at my feet, and I heard this voice say, "I'm bored." And I looked down to see who this voice belonged to, and this little boy, he was so cute, and I said, "You don't know what that means." "Yes, I do." So what it did was it reminded me that children will achieve according to our expectations, and they know more than we know. They know more than we think they know.
Yeah, very true. Listen, folks, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Dr. Batchelor's social activism, and you'll probably be surprised about this, so stay tuned. We're going to be right back.
Featuring guests that highlight everyday life. You are listening to The Maggie Linton Show on SiriusXM Urban View. Sharing your stories and hot topics. Welcome back to the Maggie Linton Show.
Once again, we are continuing with education professor Dr. Virginia Batchelor as we discuss her new children's book, Stop Calling Me That. My name is Araminta. And a lot of you don't know Harriet Tubman's real name was Araminta Ross. So now you've learned more. But Dr. Batchelor, I want to also talk about your other social activism, which is domestic minor sex trafficking. Talk about that and what got you into that.
Well, my colleague and I were trying to choose a topic that we felt that teachers in the classroom maybe were not aware of, and so we decided to devote our attentions to domestic minor sex trafficking because, to begin with, some people think that it is not a problem here in the United States, and oftentimes there are children who are victims of domestic minor sex trafficking in our classroom, and we don't understand the behavior of that individual, and oftentimes when the behavior is difficult to deal with, we sometimes write children off. And so we wanted our educators to be aware that we need to be mindful of situations that are occurring in our students' lives.
All right. We're going to come back to that to talk about it a little bit more, but I've got a call from Anthony in Michigan. Good morning, Anthony. Thank you for calling.
Good morning.
Go right ahead with your question.
Hi, how are you? I'm sorry.
I'm doing great. Real good.
Thank you, doctor, professor, writer. I don't know how many labels I need to put on it, but I have some nieces, and I do a lot of mentoring. So how can someone get a book for the children?
Well, I'm glad you asked. The book is available to be ordered online through Amazon or Amazon.com or Barnes & Nobles as well.
Okay.
So it's print on demand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and your nieces will love it. There is no doubt in my mind. You learn a lot, and it really will help lift their self-esteem, even if they may not realize it at the beginning, but it definitely will. All right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'd give you a copy, except it's already been called for by my producer, Medaille Coleman, who has a little girl.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All righty.
Thank
you,
Anthony.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Doctor, let's go back to the sex trafficking. So often this happens with kids who run away or may not have the strong support of family at home.
Definitely, and those are the children whose self-esteem is being built up by predators, and that's why it's so important that we as parents, as teachers, faith-based professionals, counselors, social workers, we have to look at our children and see them as children and build their self-esteem so that they don't seek dangerous places and spaces to feel good about themselves.
And so it's been known that teachers have seen that change in behavior and really helped out. Once again, the unclaimed, unheralded professionals who make such a difference in people's lives.
That is so true, and it's so important to talk about this issue because so many people feel that it is not an issue in the U.S., and so many teachers feel that these children are in the streets and that they never show up in their classrooms. And the classroom is a place where maybe you can lend a helping hand to pull them from such a violent life. We had one of our participants was attending high school at the time, and it just got to be too much for her to stay in the classroom and then go to work for someone else. And so with teachers having this vision that they're never in their classroom, that's something that is important for them to know, that oftentimes they are, and then they disappear, and then we lose them forever.
Mm-hmm. So you really have to pay attention. And part of the profits from Stop Calling Me That are going to this.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because I feel that this is a way of continuing the work of Harriet Tubman. And Harriet Tubman, her work has touched us in so many ways and in so many generations. I feel that it's also a way to honor her work. And I can't do it in the way that she did it, but I'm going to do it the best I can, one book at a time, and I'm going to keep talking about the importance of viewing our children in a more positive perspective and not to judge them when they see misbehaviors that are perceived as children who are just individuals who should be written off.
Exactly. The other thing you bring out is the bond between Araminta, between her and her grandmother, and the importance of keeping a little bit more mature individual that may not be the mom within this learning process of growing up.
Well, I tell you, there were so many layers that hit me while I was writing the book. In fact, when I read it over and get a sense of what other people are getting out of it, it is so important for us to keep those relationships and honor our elders because they have so much to share with us. And in addition, the dynamics between mother, daughter, and granddaughter is such a important bond as well. Power of three. And so it's so important that we touch each of our generations and make them a part of this whole dynamics of peace and love and respect for each other and for ourselves.
Are you going to be writing more? Is Araminta going to continue to be with us?
I think so. I think she was talking to me last night, and she and Harriet Tubman and Grandma Abigail said, listen, I think we should sit down and have a powwow. So I'm hoping that they'll touch my soul once again. And in fact, I'm hoping they'll touch it over and over again so that, we continue to grow and be a messenger of hope to our, our future generation. And I also want to give, so that our boys will not be left out. I'm thinking someone else is talking to me too, so it may be Shane.
Oh, all right. Well, that would be good because you have 2 or 3 characters in here who could really spur on their own little individual stories and learn more about them too.
Oh yes, and when I was growing up, history just wasn't one of my loves until I became older, and I began to realize history is our stories, her story, his story, our story, and I wanted to make sure that I, help develop a love for history in our children so that they would delve into finding out even more about themselves. And that makes it easily to stand in your own truth when you know what your truth is.
Yeah. You're also in this book. There's so much because I love children's books, but yours is such an intelligent children's book, and the fact that you show that sometimes friendships can develop or support can develop kind of when you least expect it. When you look at Minta's, Araminta's, or I call her Minta because in here that's her nickname, Minta's little friends in the classroom, when her friends shouts out, stop calling her that. What her real name is. You never know who your allies are, but they often show up when you need them.
Oh, that's for sure. And we want them to show up so much more, so much more.
Yeah. As you look ahead, and like you're saying, they're starting to talk to you, so you're going to be doing more of that. You said this book is strictly on demand?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I wanted to see if people would like my work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm an indie. My daughter corrected me. I said, I'm going to be an independent publisher. She says, no, Mommy, you're an indie. And, I want to say that to a lot of people who are listening because initially I was also told that it's difficult to break into, having your work into children's book publishing. And so if you're missing, I think you should place yourself in it and publish yourself.
And talk about what was it like? Just walk us through, because I know I have listeners out there who have been contemplating it, and talk about your process.
Well, my process, it was really wonderful. How God just puts people in your life that will make a difference. I was told about an illustrator, and then after, in fact, my project graphic designer, she's now adopted, Pat Malone. I've adopted her, and that's what Grandma Abigail does, though, and that's what all of us do. And she and I also together, we began looking at all of these independent avenues, and the one I chose partnered up with Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. And so the process is basically, you find people who like your book, you read it to children, you edit, and then you finally get that courage to let it go. You change it into a PDF file, you upload it onto the sites of where you want your book to go. I chose Ingram Spark, and after that, it's history. You just hope that people love it and will buy it.
Oh yeah, that's it. And then I have you on here, but the I guess marketing process of it too. How did that work out for you?
Well, that's why I know this project wasn't mine, and that I was just a conduit, because as soon as I let it go, I told my illustrator and a couple of friends that I finally did it, because they became tired of me saying, I'm going to do it. When are you going to do it? And they put it on their Facebook. And it was amazing. The illustrator's mother, Deborah Cooper, she finds out that the book was out through a mutual friend of ours on Facebook. So it's amazing what Facebook can do for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. And you took it upon yourself to just tell the right people, and the right people then. And that's what's so important, is the support that you're getting. And I'm not exactly sure who got in touch with us, because Adele handled your booking. But I'm so glad to be able to see it, because it's absolutely, like I said, gorgeous, and illustrated by James Cooper III. And that process. Now, did you send him just the words, sit down and talk with him, see him face to face? What?
We sat down in Frank Merriweather Library every Wednesday, and he listened to me jibber jabber, and I would also bring him pictures of the, because I wanted him to know the flavor of what I saw in my mind. I didn't want my characters to look like cartoon. And I told him, I said, I want Araminta to look real, and I want people to be upset if she's upset, and to love her. And finally, when the rendering, he called it rendering, and went up, and at that process, from that process emerged a character that I said, that's her. And so that's what happened with all of the characters. If they didn't speak to me, he would just keep trying. But I did, I gave him examples of the realism, because sometimes when you say, I want them to look real, people don't know what real looks like in your head.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, and he says, I know you like this one because you did a jump. So I know I got on his nerves.
Well, From grandma to mom sitting on the bed with her rollers. He's very, very beautifully done. And your book is, too. Once again, it is education professor, Dr. Virginia Batchelor. Her new children's book, folks, if you got kids, I highly recommend it. Stop calling me that. My name is Araminta. It's available at Amazon.com and other locations, including the website little-lionreads.weebly.com. Once again, little-lionreads.weebly.com. Continued success, Professor.
Oh, thank you so much, Miss Maggie, and many blessings to you.
And the same to you. Tomorrow, Deborah Watts, cousin of Emmett Till and co-founder and director of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. Rosalind Withers, daughter of legendary civil rights photographer Ernest Withers and president of the Withers Collection Museum and Gallery. Plus, couples therapist and sex psychologist Dr. Douglas Weiss and his new book, 5 Sex Languages. Many thanks as always to Adele Coleman and to Tony Fowler. Until next time, seek peace, spread lots of love. I'm Maggie Linton.